is what I'm holding right now. There's lots of different salvias, okay? There's Salvia officinalis, that's the herb sage you would cook up with butter and mushrooms, yum. There's Salvia apiana, that's the white sage that is typically used for smudging ceremonially. There's Salvia divinorum, I believe it's called, which is the sage you can smoke, has psychoactive properties, it will make you hallucinate. Never done it. I'll stop there. But there's lots of salvias. Salvias are in the mint family, okay? So they have that square stem. And when you roll the stem between your fingers, it's easy to see if it has an edge. Salvia coccinea is also known as hummingbird sage because the nectar is so rich in this variety, the hummingbirds love it. Some people call it ornamental sage, some people call it Texas sage. It's got lots of different names. It's a perennial above zone 7. Below that it's an annual, but it's a very drought tolerant, full sun loving plant, like all salvias actually. One of the real perks, if you live in a hot climate, they grow really well in hot, dry climates. These guys should be seeded 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost indoors. Well-draining potting mix. They need a little light to germinate, so you just cover the seeds lightly and make sure they're in a full sun location. Germination takes about 2 to 3 weeks, and then 2 leaves pop up, and they're like 2 semicircles. The foliage of salvia is quite textured. It's pretty soft, like not lamb's ear soft, but pretty soft. And the leaves are quite heart-shaped, or cordate is the technical term for that shape. They don't really smell like much, but some varieties are quite scented. And you know how sage smells. Salvia coccinea can grow 2 to 3 feet. Look at this. This pot is not that deep, and look how high it's grown. I seeded this stuff. It's really done amazing. It's really awesome if you plant a large spread of Salvia coccinea, or any salvia that grows relatively high, and you just have this nice little foliage field. It looks really nice at a distance or up close. Coccinea flowers are continuously in bloom, which is awesome, because then there's always something for the bees and for your eyes to feast on. These flowers are almost orchid-like, okay? They're very irregular. And this particular cultivar is called Coral Nymph. It's got like a salmon, pinky, and white bicolor. And then these teeny little white stamens coming out of each flower. They're very delicate looking, very cute. Salvia coccinea is an excellent cut flower, and it's also a really good container flower because of its drought tolerance. You know those spiller, thriller, filler? Have you ever heard that? For flower arranging aficionados? It's kind of a phrase used to make a really good big container. So if you don't know about it, the spiller is something kind of trailing. The filler is kind of the bulk of the container, really adds density, and then the thriller is like the big eye catcher that you see from far away, just kind of completes the whole thing. Coccinea would be a thriller because of its height. Usually thrillers have a height to them. These guys are starting to dry off. Can you hear this rustle? You can always tell if something's dry by that reliable rustle. It's that seed shaking inside. So I just pulled some relatively dry flower buds off my plant. There's a seed right here. They're not super small, so they're pretty easy to find. Just make sure that plant's fully dried off, kind of brownish, and you can easily grab those seeds out, save them for next year. I try to seed some salvia every year. It's kind of like a pollinator staple for me. It's just so low maintenance, and the insects love it. I haven't seen a hummingbird come up to mine. I don't know if I've ever seen a hummingbird here in my region, but the bees, nonetheless, also love the nectar-rich stuff. Did you listen to anything I just said, or were you just so enthralled by my cactus pot?